Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to Smart Contact Labs. So in today's lecture, we are going to work on the file access control system. So let's understand what is file access control system and what are the different functionalities we can provide in this smart contract. So access control means when you are controlling the access of a particular file and providing the different access level to the different users. Access levels means read access, write access, and admin rights. So these are the following rights we can provide along with the file to a different users. So here, the controller of the file system can provide the access required for a particular file to the address of the users. So here we will provide the grant or revoke access to the users, and these are the different levels: read, write, and admin rights to them. So, what are the different functionalities? So, first one, we will declare the access level as I specified here, none access level. That means you have all rights and read, write, and admin rights. Then we will declare a file structure in the form of structure, and we will declare the various attributes of the file like file ID, name, and what is the access level we are providing with that file. And then these are the and we will create two or more mappings for storing their details, the file details along with the access details. And add file function, this first function is to add file. So add file function allows specifically this function should be should be executed by the owner of this smart contract who will deploy this contract to add the files. And by adding the files, we will store all this particular information of a particular file. And then the grant access, here the owner grant the access to the user of a particular file. And then revoke access, the owner is also allowed to revoke the access from the user. So these are the following functionality we are going to provide in this file access control system. So let's start the coding part. I have already opened the Remix IDE in this tab, and you can open Remix IDE by just clicking write down Remix IDE Ethereum on Google and click on the very first link. So first we will create a new file. So just go to the contract and smart contract labs, and here I'm creating one file, that is file, and name it as file access control. So first two information that we are going to provide are license identifiers and the compiler version. So I'm just taking the I'm opening the other availables file and just copy and paste here instead of writing it. So first specify your license identifier, and second thing give you the idea, the version of the compiler you are going to use in this code. So after these two information, just create a contract by using the contract keyword and name this contract as file access control and just specify its scope. Now, next task is to declare all the variables that we need to give the function, to give the definition of the different functions. So first one, just like said, we will provide the different access level, and they have the different categories here: read, write access, then admin rights, right? So instead of taking the different variables for holding the different categories, we are using the enumerator here. Here, the enumerator name is access level, and you can provide the multiple values under this curly braces separated by comma. So first one is your none, then read, then write, and then admin. So this is how you can declare the different categories using this enumerator. Now next we will declare the file structure. So for that I'm using data structure called struct, and here we have our name as file, and you can declare the multiple attributes of file under it. So first one is your uint file ID. Second one is your name. What is the file name? And third one is your access level. And here I'm using the enumerator as your data type, and this is the name of this access level, access required. So it's done. So these are the following attributes we need while we store the file information by using the mapping. And for storing this information, I need one mapping or you can say array. So I'm taking the array of this structure type, and making this at public and name it as files. So whenever I'm creating one array of object of which the structure type of array, and it is stored, and the name of this array is files, and this at files 0 you are going to store all this information, at file 1 the next information, so on. Right. Next, I need a mapping to store the access level, to store that particular user address can access this file ID, and whether the access is provided or not. Right. So these all this information I want to store in a single mapping. So that's why I'm going to use here the nested mapping. So first, this is the address of the user, right? And in the address of the user we are going to store two information. First one is your ID, that which file ID you're going to use, and this is the second mapping. And here we will use a bool value. That means we will store true or false whether the access is granted to that user or not of that file. So true or false we will store in this here, and just make this mapping as public. And then next, after this, just make it as file access. Name is as file access. And here, because this is a nested mapping, so I have to specify mapping again here. And this is how it works. So in mapping, we store values in the form of key value pair. So here for the first mapping, key is address of the user, and value is this complete information, ID and its true value. And the next mapping, this is the key value, the file ID, and we are going to store the true or false value, whether you have access of that file or not. Right, now we will create a few events here. So to store the different information. So first event is related to the add file added. So whenever you add new file, you can use this event for store the information, different information like file ID. First one is your file ID. Second one is your name, string name, and third one is your access level. Like we did, it is same that we declare all these variables here, right? Next event is to grant access granted. We will execute this after the owner granted access to a particular file. And here the address of the user and the file ID. These are the two information we need while we grant access to a particular file. Next event is access in case of event. In case the access is revoked, you no longer can access this the revoked access file. So here again, first information will be your user, and second information is same as the file ID that we did for access granted. So these are the following events I have created to store the different values, and we will emit all these events when we do the when we define the functions. Now next task, one variable is missing here, that I have not declared a variable called as owner, who will address public should be owner, right? So now just initialize this owner with the help of the constructor. So owner should be equal to the message.sender. And for that, you can also create a modifier, because there are certain functions that should be that only be executed by the owner. So I'm creating only owner modifier. So here I'll use a required statement in which your owner should be equal to message or sender. If it is equal, then it's fine, but otherwise you need to display error message. Only the contract owner can call this function. And you can terminate this statement, and you always terminate the modifier with this underscore sign, because we always apply this constraint or condition on the different functions. And so this underscore sign will replace the rest of the statements of the function, and after if this condition is true. Now, so the all initial part is done. We have declared all the variables that we need while defining our functions, and we have also initialized the owner variable with the help of constructor, and we have also worked on the different conditions that we need while you are declaring a function. So first function is to add file. And in these functions, we need the information, all the information that we have declared, all the attributes that we have declared here in the structure. So first one is your ID. So here you can pass the file, the owner will pass the file ID. And second, string name. So whenever you're declaring the string variables, you have to make it as memory and name. Next, we have access level. So use the access level, and underscore name of this is access required. This should be of public, and only owner can execute this function, and just define its scope. Right, so here we just need to use this, which mapping I'll work on, this files mapping. So this is the mapping in which we are going to store all this information, the file related information. So whenever you want to insert any value in an array, you have to use which keyword, push keyword. So here I'm pushing the complete file details, the name of the structure. The name of the structure is this, and here I'll use the different structure members. First one is your ID, and to just store the value as file ID separated by comma. And then next is your name, and just use the local name or variable name as name. Next one is access required. Access required. So here use the access required and just terminate this by semicolon. So this is done. So this is how you can store all this information by using this. First, we are using the files array, right? And it's of which type, the structure type. And so here I'm using the function as push, and I'm calling the file directly and just initializing all the data members of this structure by using these local parameters. Now a file is added, so you have to emit which event, file added event. So file added event, and here you need to transfer or pass all the local variables. First one is your file ID, second one is your underscore name, and third one is your access required. It's done. Why it is showing red line? Undeclared identifier access required. This, oh, they're triple CO. So I mean I have is, so it's correct now. Right, so file added function is done. Now second function is to grant access to a user. So here I need the user address, and the second I need a file ID. So here we are going to provide the access of a particular file having file ID to a particular user having address underscore user. Right. So here we use only owner can grant the access, right? So public and only owner. And here whenever we are using the file ID. So first we need to check it's a valid ID or not with the by checking the length of this array. So here you can compare it by using the length of this array because it should be less than the length. So file underscore file ID should be less than files dot length function. If it is less, then it's fine. The file ID is valid one. Otherwise, you have to display a message as invalid file ID like this. Because if the length of your array is 5, so the index value here ranges from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That means it should be less than the length, its length. So this is how you can check whether the ID is valid or not. Now, next task is to grant access. So for granting the access, we have this mapping, the nested mapping. So here in first square bracket, we have to specify what the address of the user. In the second square bracket, we have to specify what the file ID and then just make it true. Right. So this is how you can just granting the access to the particular user. So here file access. So this is the name of this, yes, file access. And here the first is your user address and second is your file ID. And both are local parameter values and just keep it as true. That means it should be files access. So it should be true. And so done. We have provided the access of this file to this user and the access level we have already specified while the owner is adding the file that this particular file is available only in read access mode or write access mode, right? And then we can grant that access to the user by just specifying the file ID. So this is how we are granting the access of a particular file to the user. Now, when we are granting the access, we are storing this information in access granted. So just emit this event access granted, or here just provide the local variables. First one is your user and second one is your file ID. Done. Now next functions to revoke the access from a particular user. So function name is revokeAccess. And here as well, we need both these two same information. First one is your user address and second one is your file ID. Just make this variable as public and it should only be executed by the owner. Right. And we need this information as well to check your file ID is correct or not. Same thing. So I just copied and paste here. Should be less than and we will use these two information as well, but in a different. So here what we are doing instead of true, because we are revoking the access, just make it as false. That's all. And here instead of access granted, we have a access revoked. Access revoked event. So this is the event. So I hope everything is clear till now. Now the user can check whether the user has access of a particular file or not by using this next function has access. So here we need the same information, same set of information. First one is the address of your user and second one is your file ID. just to make this as public, and it is accessible by everyone, and it only accessing the information to check. They are just accessing the mapping or the state variable, so that's why I just keep this function as view and returns the true. If you have access, then it should um returns bool value true and false, like this. So here we need the same or require statement that first we check whether your file ID you are providing is correct or not. And second thing we are going to do, we just return use the nested mapping files access, and we're just passing the address of the user they have provided and the file ID. If it is true that you have the access, then it returns true value, otherwise the false value. That means all functions are done. We have defined all the function has access or not, revoke access, grant access, and so on. So let's compile this program first. So it is compiled. Okay. Now just deploy it. So first address is your owner. So just deploy it. So it is deployed successfully. Okay. And here is our instance, and just click on it. So first we are going to add a file by using this addFile function. So here I'm providing the field ID as 0. So this is your 0 index. And next, the name of the file is computer. And next one is identifier we need access level. So I told you whenever we have a access level in the form of enumerator, so first value stores on index 0, second value on 1 and 2 and 3. So I'm going to provide the read access. So I'm here just write the access level as 1, right? And just execute this function. It's done. Now I'm adding one more file, and the index of that next file is 1, and just the name of the file is science, and I'm providing the right access. So add this file as well. It's added. I'm accessing adding one more file, 2, and it's a subject file English, and I'm providing the third. So I have added 3 files, and you can check the files information by using this files mapping. So first is your 0, just check which one is computer one. And next is your science, I guess. It's a science, access required is 2. And next is your English, right? Now you want to grant access to different users. So this is your first user, and just copy this address, and just we will execute the function from the owner account, and we will grant the access to this address. So address I have copied here. So the next file I'm providing the access to the 0 file here. So grant this access. It is done, right? And similarly, you can provide the access. Now if you want to use the same address information, and this is the access for 0 file, so I'm going to execute this and just write down the ID as this, checking yes, this user has an access of the file ID 0. It's true. Who is the owner? You can check. And the file access you can check here. So file access, this is the mapping. So it also give you the true and false, or otherwise you can use this has access. So that's all from my side. If you want to revoke the access, so you can just write down the address, and the ID is 0. So revoke this access. It's true now. Right now, just check this. It is false. The has access is false. That means you can't access this file now. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much for your time. Have a nice day.